Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about interpreting charts, tables, and graphs. And this first one is what we call a picture graph. It's an actual graph that uses pictures to help give information out. And it's always good to become familiar with the graph. All charts, tables, graphs need titles. This particular one is talking about flowers in the garden. And then down over here it lists roses, tulips, zinnias, daisies, marigolds. But this key at the bottom gives us a lot of information. One flower doesn't represent one flower, it represents 6 flowers. And a half of a flower represents 3 flowers. So if I wanted to know how many tulips there were, 1, 2, 3, 4, there's 5 full flowers. Each one represents 6. So 5 times 6, there would be a total of 30 tulips. If I wanted to know how many daisies, I have 2 full flowers. So that's 6 times 2, which is 12. And a half a flower is 3. So there's a total of 15 flowers. Always good to be familiar. Remember, all charts, tables, and graphs needs a title. And to be sure if there is a key, like in this particular one, that you become familiar with what the key represents. Same thing on this one. It's just talking about there's the title, number of votes, becoming familiar with the key, that one hand is 10 votes, a half a hand is 5 votes. If I want to know how many votes Marcia had, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 times 10 is 50, plus the half a hand, which would be 55 votes. So becoming familiar with the charts, table, and graphs, and looking at the title and seeing what information given is always key. This next one is a circle graph, and the particular title to this circle graph is off to the side. It's daily activities. Now, we've talked about circles. Circles add up to 360 degrees. And sometimes they'll give you percentages on this circle graph. In this case, you just kind of have to look to see which it is. But if you were to divide them up, like sleep would be about 135, school would be about 75, recreation would be about 60, and each one of these would be about 30, for a total of 360 degrees. And then you would just take that information. Remember, this is a title. The daily activities is the title, and then this is how they spend their time in the day. So you just are really becoming familiar with how the information is presented, whether it's a line graph, a picture graph, a bar graph, a circle graph. You just have to become familiar with the information. The line graph really represents information in another way. You still have a title. People passing a street corner. Now this one, a line graph always is a little bit different because it kind of reminds me of the coordinate grid. You have an x-axis, which is the horizontal. And then you have the y-axis, which is the vertical. So the x-axis is giving me the time of day, and the y-axis is giving me the number of people. So if I wanted to know at 2 p.m. how many people passed the street corner, so I come down to the horizontal or the x-axis, that's 2 p.m., and I go across to the y-axis, which is the vertical, that's the purple one, it would be 400 people. If I wanted to know how many people passed the street corner at 6 p.m., I come down to my y-axis, there it's my x-axis, that's giving me my horizontal, that's the 6 p.m. And I go over and look, it's halfway between 700, and that would be 800, so it would be 750. So remember, sometimes on graphs like this, still every graph has to have a title. Sometimes you have an x-axis, which is the horizontal, and you have a y-axis that gives you information that is the vertical, which is kind of set up like one quadrant of the coordinate grid. Sometimes they use tally marks. Now, I wanted to make sure you understood what a tally mark was. A tally mark, each stick represents one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, that would be 5. There's just 2 sticks there, so that's 2. There's 5 and 3, that would be 8. 5, 10, 15, 1, 2, 3, 4, which would be 19.